This is Gene Montrastelli, and welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast recorded live to tape from Williamsburg in Brooklyn. This is episode 518, originally aired September 29th, 2021. Hi everyone, I hope this finds you well wherever you are and whatever time of day you get a chance to listen to this. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Today we are going to talk about and do some tapping for when we are making difficult decisions and there's not a clear, obvious outcome. Before we do that, two quick announcements. Number one, we have a free 10-part guide on how you can use tapping to eliminate self-sabotage. All you need to do is go to tappingqa.com, click on the big blue button. If you happen to be listening to this right now in the website, if you click on the blue button in the upper right-hand corner, we will start sending you that guide every single day for the next 10 days. You will get one small thing that'll take you less than 3 minutes to do each day to make it easier for you to take action. Then at the end of 10 days, you can choose the one or two that work the best from you and do them over and over again. Secondly, I'd like to thank all of the supporters of the Tapping Q&A podcast. These are people who, out of the goodness of their heart, support the show to ensure that it keeps coming to you. And the really cool thing is 10% of all of the contribution that goes to the podcast, we actually loan out through microloans through Kiva. Kiva is a microloan site that supports small business owners all over the world. And the really cool thing is when the money is paid back, we lend them out again. And since people have been supporting the podcast because of the loans that are paid back, every single month we have the opportunity to support over 50 small businesses all over the world. And so over the course of the month, new support comes in for the podcast, loans get paid back, and we get to give back again and again. If you'd like to support the podcast, if you'd like to feel good every single time you hear one of these episodes knowing you're a part of it, receive some amazing free gifts, and make a difference for small business owners all over the world, all you need to do is go to tappingqa.com/support. I am appreciative of the fact that I live in 2021. And one of the things that I always think about is, at this moment in history, we know more now today than we have at any moment in history. And a year from now, that will be true. And 10 years from now, that will be true. And I think about, as frustrating as it can be sometimes not to be able to get the answers we want, like as I get sick today, the difference of me getting sick today and me getting sick 200 years ago. And that's good, and that's an exciting thing, and we have a really incomplete knowledge of how the human body works and how disease works and how viruses work, and we're constantly trying to figure it out. And one of the things that I love about science is science isn't wrong, but instead, science says this is what we think is true right now, and then it keeps doing experiments, and it goes, oh, no, actually, this is what is true. And so science is constantly growing and evolving, and that's the reason why things that 10 years ago might have killed us is now something that can be dealt with in a routine way. And even with the best possible treatment and the best possible care, things can go wrong. I mean, things can go perfectly 99 out of 100 times, and if you happen to be the person who is that 100th time where it goes wrong, it feels like you've been let down. Because the people around you are doing the best that they can, and we're working with limited information. I'm really lucky. I have a doctor here in New York City who I love. He's my age, so he understands kind of physically where I am because he's living in a very similar type body. He's a good, thoughtful man. He answers my questions well. And whenever something comes up, we've dealt with a number of issues, some of them serious, some of them not so serious, over the course of the last 8 years since I've been going to him. And every single time he's really straightforward. He's like, this is what it probably is, and we do some tests and we'll know some more, and this is what happens if it goes well, this is what happens if it doesn't go well, this is kind of the percentages of that sort of thing. So even when I have an amazing doctor who I trust, who's dedicated his life to understanding medical science, and is working really, really hard. He genuinely cares about me. I go in, he knows my name. He remembers when we were talking the last time. Even in that setting, when I'm getting good information from Dr. Adams, I'm in a circumstance where things don't always work out. And so even with the best possible medical advice from someone I trust, who really listens to me, Still, following through on that advice sometimes can be a little scary, because even when we're doing things that are straightforward, they can go wrong. And that's true for everything. Riding on the subway here in New York is straightforward and nothing goes wrong until the tracks catch on fire, which happens. And so we can have some apprehension when we are following trusted advice in our life, even though there's a part of us that is uncertain. And that's okay, and that's appropriate. And so today what I wanted to do, and this actually came from a request from one of the listeners of the podcast, who was making a medical decision that she felt was really the right medical decision for herself, and was still worried because there are unknown outcomes to any medical decision, and wanting to have a little security and freedom in wrestling with that. So that's what we're going to tap on today. So tap on the side of the hand, take a nice big deep breath, and just move from tapping point to tapping point, repeating after me. I recognize the fact I'm lucky to be alive today. I have access to things today that even a generation ago never could have dreamed of. I have access to help and health in new ways. And even with that being said, there's still so much for us to learn. There's still pieces of our knowledge that are incomplete. And when we are making the best possible choice, there are still ways that it might not work out. There are still ways that it might go awry. And that's scary. Because I don't want to be the person who is the 1 in 100. Or the 1 in 1,000. Or the 1 in 1,000,000 who has something go wrong. Because even when I do everything right, even when I trust the best possible advice, things can still not go as planned. And so when I'm making a difficult choice, even when it feels like the right choice, it makes sense that there would be some hesitancy. It makes sense that there would be some concern. And I give myself permission to trust my judgment, to trust my support system, to make good, thoughtful choices as I step into and navigate all of this. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be overwhelmed. Every day of my life, I navigate uncertain things. This just happens to be an uncertain thing that I'm more aware of. I give myself permission to trust the people around me, to trust my trusted advisors, knowing that if I do this, I'm much more likely to have success. I am much more likely to have happiness. I am much more likely to have health. Nice big deep breath. And just scan your body and just notice if there's any tension or if there's any worry left, and just have a little conversation with that. Maybe if you need to go back and re-tap along to this, do that. And to put yourself in a position where you're making good, thoughtful choices, because we are consistently making good, thoughtful choices with incomplete information. And even when things feel like they're certain, they never are. We just feel like they are, especially when they work out. So give yourself permission to be okay with that as well. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you about that particular thing, about this, or something you'd like us to cover in the future. Like I said, this came from an email that I received earlier this week of someone who's really struggling. Maybe we can create something that will help the entire community from your struggle as well. I can always be reached at Gene, Gene, at tappingqna.com, or if you go onto the website and you click on that contact link, you can send me an email and I will get it right away. I would love to hear from you. If you know someone in your life who would appreciate this conversation, please be our ambassador. Pass it along. Don't spam your inbox. But you might have one or two friends who you've had conversations like this recently, that this will be helpful for them to step into whatever is in front of them that might feel a little scary, that might feel a little overwhelming. Please subscribe to the podcast. In podcasting parlance, subscribe is always free. You can subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, Pandora, Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, Gaia, basically anywhere you get audio online. Just search for Tapping Q&A, click subscribe, click follow, and make sure you turn on the notification so each time a new episode comes out, you're notified right away, and you can tap along with us or learn along with us when we have some really amazing guests on. The fall is going to be filled with lots of really, really awesome guests. For the Tapping Q&A podcast, this is Gene Montrestelli. I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you real soon. Bye-bye. The Tapping Q&A podcast is copyright Gene Montrestelli Tapping Q&A. All views expressed by guests are those of the guests and not necessarily of Gene Montrestelli and Tapping Q&A.